Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Respected colleagues, beloved students, and distinguished guests, good afternoon and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you, and my sincere thanks and gratitude for joining this session, our talk on the chosen social theme topic for 2021-2022. So for this year's social theme, it focuses on the topic titled Future of Work. Digitalization and globalization have sparked radical shifts in how we live and work. And the coronavirus crisis has accelerated this beyond anything we could have imagined. So this year's social theme, it is an eye-opener for everyone, right? On how the rapid advancement in digitalization, robotics, artificial intelligence, and so forth are changing the future of work globally. Touching on topics such as how emerging technologies is transforming the work culture, to what are the foundational skills needed by the young generation to be successful in the future. So among the prevalent topic when it comes to emerging technologies is how artificial intelligence is transforming the way we live and the way we work. According to the World Economic Forum's The Future of Job Reports 2020, 85 million jobs will be replaced by machines with artificial intelligence by the year 2025. While that may sound like a terrifying statistic, the same report also states that 97 million new jobs will be created by 2025 due to artificial intelligence too. So I am no expert on this, hence it is to my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest for today's talk, Dr. Fatima Zaharuddin. So on behalf of the school, we truly appreciate Dr. Fatima for finding the time to be with us despite of her tight schedule. Allow me to give a brief introduction of our guest. Dr. Fatima is an assistant professor with the engineering faculty in International Islamic University of Malaysia, with extensive teaching and research experience in mechanical engineering, focusing on data analytics, deep learning, and big data. She completed her PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of Melbourne. She is a certified chartered engineer of Institution of Mechanical Engineers UK. She's also a professional technologist of Malaysia Board of Technologies and BOT, and she's also a member of Board of Engineers Malaysia or BEM. Dr. Fatima is also highly skilled in fields or subjects related to programming, emerging technologies such as Internet of Things, IoT, big data, and of course, artificial intelligence. And so, without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Fatima Zaharuddin, who will share with us her knowledge and expertise specifically on artificial intelligence with the topic, I Spy with My Little Eyes. So the session is yours now, Dr. Fatima. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Give me a moment. Okay. All right, can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen? All right. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Hope you're doing well at home. I can see you all at home. Very happy, which is good. Okay, so today I'm going to be sharing a very interesting topic in my opinion, a very cool topic in my opinion, which is I Spy with My Little Eye. So I is actually AI or artificial intelligence, okay? So I'm going to be I'm going to start with a little game. I spy with my little eye something AI. All right, so in this picture here, can you see what's AI in here? Right, but what is AI? So maybe before we can play this little game, maybe it's a good idea to have a look at why AI is, okay? So AI stands for artificial intelligence. So to kind of understand what AI is, we need to go back in time. So these here are old computers. They're really old and they were really big, all right? So you can see that they're really big machines. And these men standing here, they give instructions, right? So they tell the machines what to do and the machines will process it. And because they didn't have any monitors or screens back then, they'll actually respond by spitting out long pieces of paper, as you can see here, or some calculations, okay? So over time, these computers have gotten so much smaller, like these laptops and iPads, right? Which is cool. But one thing that didn't change much is that if we want the machines to do something, we're the ones who need to give it instructions, okay? So for example, if you want to watch YouTube, you'll have to tap on the YouTube icon, right? So this is how we give instructions. And then the machines or the iPad will process it and it will respond by opening the YouTube app, right? So human beings have always been responsible to give instructions to machines in the past, but things are changing. All right. So I can almost 100% guarantee that when you saw this little bird just now, your brains instantly told you this is a bird, right? So it's very instantaneous for a human, but it's not as easy for a machine, right? So machines in the past were not smart enough to figure this thing out. But through AI or through artificial intelligence, machines can now say, this is a bird, right? So how does this work? Now, this is where things get really cool. So before we can use AI first needs to learn to recognize birds, and we do it through this reference data, right? So we give them a bunch of data or training data, and the way we make this reference data is by showing a bunch of different pictures and tell them which one is a bird and which one is not, right? So we tell them, okay, this is a bird, this is a bird, this one is a dog, this one is bird, and we give them about maybe 10 million pictures of this, all right? And when machines look at a bird through a camera, at this point, they can only see it, right? So it's just like having eyes, but no brains. They can't process that it's a bird just yet. So what it does is it converts the image it saw through the camera into some sort of data that contains features and characteristics of the bird that you just saw. So for now, we'll just represent that converted data like this, right? So we're going to talk more about this. I'm just going to simplify right now. And then we've got the converted data, which is this thing right here. And the AI will process it by comparing this data to the reference data that it got, okay? All right, so it goes through this thinking process, right? So it learns from the reference data that the thing that it sees is a bird. Okay, so and it decides from there that, okay, this is a bird. And this is exactly like how a human would behave. And this is the very high level concept of what artificial intelligence is. So AI or artificial intelligence is the ability for the machines to learn, think, behave like humans. All right, so AI is a way to give machines the power to make decisions. So you have to provide input to machines, and through artificial intelligence, they will give the output. So similar to human beings, machines also work based on the codes they're given. So for example, you know birds can fly, and this is how your brains interpret a bird, right? So, but why do brains interpret birds as flying animals, right? So mainly because you've probably seen a bird flying, and that's a pattern, okay? So similarly, the brain of the machine that works on artificial intelligence recognizes the pattern encoded in its memory, right? So it recognizes patterns. And one of the most important concepts in AI is that it needs to learn from data, right? So this is a really important concept in AI. And only then can it recognize that the thing that it sees is actually a bird, okay? Okay, so let's get back to our little game here. I spy with my little eye something AI, right? So To tell you the truth, I knew I won't be able to hear you. Teacher Fatin said that she's going to mute you all. So I might have cheated a bit and just put everything that has AI here. So everything that you see here has AI. And I know you guys love YouTube so much. So we're going to start with how AI works with YouTube, okay? All right, so let's say you like birds and you don't like dogs and cats, all right? So the YouTube AI will learn about this based on your previous YouTube views. And from here, it will think, which videos do you think would you like to watch? Which is probably another bird video since you love those so much. And then it will behave by recommending YouTube videos you like, which is, a series of bird videos because that's what you like, right? And that's why YouTube recommends to you, that's why what YouTube recommends to you will be very different from what it recommends to your mom or to your dad or to your brother. Okay, so AI learns about you, it collects data about you, and then it recommends content based on what you like. Okay, so let's do another one. Say, for example, you like sports and cats and you don't like dinosaurs, okay? So the YouTube AI will learn about this based on your previous YouTube views. And from there, it will think, I should recommend a sports video instead of a dinosaur one. And then it will behave by recommending sports and cats videos, right? You got this, right? But have you really got this? Because do you really get something like this on YouTube's recommendation? Or do you have, or something like this, right? So you'll probably notice some new videos popping up, which are probably different from what you watch, right? So here we have new Lego videos, right? So that wasn't in the initial list. So is AI broken? So far from it. So YouTube was actually designed so that it keeps you watching as many videos as possible. And it does that by learning about you, which includes trying to see if you like something else. So here they're trying to see whether you like Lego videos or not. Okay. And so that's why they try to recommend different videos and see if you click on it. So these are Lego videos. So, and if you happen to click, if you happen to click this new recommended Lego video, so for example, you click this one right here, AI will go, you like Lego, and it adds it to your data. Okay, so down the road, you'll probably see more Lego videos in your feed. And this is how AI works. The more time you spend with it, scrolling videos, the more it will learn about you, what you like, what you don't like, and then it adds that to your data right here. Okay. And this is exactly what happens on other platforms as well, like Lazada, Shopee, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right? So they all show posts or videos based on the data they have on you, what you like, what you don't like. Then they try to recommend things based on what you've liked before or what other people like you like, all right? Okay, so we've looked at how AI powers different social and e-commerce media platforms. Let's see what happens when you put AI in a robot. All right. So meet Jibo. This is what we call a social robot. All right. So Jibo is designed as a companion robot.
This is your house. This is your car. This is your toothbrush. These are your things. But these are the things that matter. And somewhere in between is this guy. Introducing Jibo, the world's first family robot. Say hi, Jibo.
Hi, Jibo.
Jibo helps everyone out throughout their day. He's the world's best cameraman. By intelligently tracking the action around him, he can independently take video and photos, so that you can put down your camera and be a part of the scene.
Jibo, take the picture.
He's a hands-free helper. You can talk to him, and he'll talk to you back, so you don't have to skip a beat.
Excuse me, Anne?
Yes, Jibo.
Melissa just sent a reminder that she's picking you up in half an hour to go grocery shopping.
Thanks, Jibo.
He's an entertainer and educator. Through interactive applications, Jibo can teach.
Let me in, or else I'll... And I'll... And I'll blow your house in.
Hey, where'd you go? There you are.
He's the closest thing to a real-life teleportation device. He can turn and look at whoever you want with a simple tap of your finger.
Check out my turkey dinner, Mom.
I wish you wouldn't eat that.
Hey, they make turkey pizza? I want turkey pizza.
And he's a platform, so his skills keep expanding. He'll be able to connect to your home.
Welcome home, Eric.
Hey, buddy. Can you order some takeout for me?
Sure thing. Chinese, as usual?
You know me so well.
And even be a great wingman.
You have a voice message from Ashley. Want to hear it?
Absolutely.
Hey, call me when you're home.
Better make that takeout for two, Jibo.
We've dreamt of it for years, and now he's finally here. And he's not just an aluminum shell, nor is he just a 3-axis motor system. He's not even just a connected device. He's one of the family.
Good night, Jibo.
Jibo, this little bot of mine.
Right, that's so cute, isn't it? So that's Jibo. It's what we call a social robot. So Jibo is designed as a family robot. It can learn to recognize a person's face, what they're saying, and their particular needs. So every person is unique. We all like different things, and we're all different in our own way. So Jibo can learn and cater to each person's specific needs, helping people in their own unique way. So here, AI is actually used to personalize the experience with Jibo. All right. Oops,
This
sorry.
is your house.
All right, so the ability for the robot to understand human
Teacher,
language.
I liked that video.
Aw, I like that video too.
And I
It's a really
want
cute
to
robot,
see
isn't
it
it?
again.
You want to see it again? Okay, we can see it again later.
On that robot.
I have a lot more videos to show.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Dr. Fatima.
Oh, it's okay. It's
Okay,
all right. It's,
all right,
okay.
Dr.
It's good to know
continue.
that you guys like the video. I'll show you more videos in a while, okay? So how does Jibo work? So Jibo is a robot, right? So robots don't understand human language. And so how we do this, or how engineers do this, is we have something called natural language processing. Okay, so natural language processing, or in short NLP, is a very important component in AI. Okay, so remember that one of the most important thing in AI is that it needs to learn from data, right? So Jibo, for example, through NLP, is able to hear speech, interpret it, and does some form of knowledge representation, right? And then based on the data that it has on you and family, and together with other data such as sentiment, social norms, it will try to come up with an automated but most appropriate response, right? So they'll try to learn, think, behave like humans, right? So let's say, so Jibo, for example, through NLP, is able to hear speech, interpret it, and does some form of knowledge representation. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay. So for example, if somebody said, so say for example, John came back and said, would you like, oh, sorry, I might have skipped. It skipped a lot, isn't it? Okay. All right, so say for example, John comes home and says, Jibo, I'm sad. Jibo will actually learn from a set of data what John likes and doesn't like, right? Just like the YouTube. And then after that, based on sentiment, right? So it actually says, oh, okay, it recognizes that John is sad. So it recognizes that John is sad. And then based on some form of social norms, it will try to come up with a response, right? So here it will say, would you like to tell me what happened over a soccer game? Because it recognized that John likes soccer, that John likes sports, and that John is sad. Okay, so that's how Jibo actually responds. Okay, so you probably have Siri at home, all right? So if you have Siri or Alexa at home, this is exactly how it works as well. So in this example, Siri through NLP is able to hear speech and tries to interpret it. So for example, if we ask Siri, do you have pets? It it will be our language, or what we said will actually be converted using NLP, and a language in which Jibo will understand. And then from there, it will learn based on the data it has to try and come up with an automated but most appropriate response. So here, Siri recognized that it was a silly question, because obviously we know Siri doesn't have a pet because it's an AI, and AIs don't have pets, right? So recognizing the silly mood or silly sentiment, Siri gave a silly answer back. He says, I have an angry bird. You can try that with Siri when you go home, or after this, okay? So we've looked at how AI powers different platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Shopee, and Lazada. We looked at how AI can be put in a robot and Siri. Now let's see what happens when we put AI in a car. And this is what I'm probably most excited about, because I'm actually a mechanical engineer. There's going to be a picture of a video of an accident after this. Hope you guys are okay with that. All right, so we're going to put AI in a car. This is a Tesla, okay? All right, so I'm going to play this video. So in front here, we have a car, an AI car called Tesla. Beside here, we have a white van. Traffic light turns green, and suddenly, out of nowhere, there was this car. Did you see that car? It just came by, whizzed by, missed the Tesla, but hits the van. So I'm just going to play that one more time. So notice this white van. This is our AI car. Green turns green. And then suddenly this car stops, right? And there's a car coming by. So what happened was the Tesla's AI, this is the Tesla, this car has AI. So the Tesla's AI managed to detect the fast coming car and suddenly make that sudden brake, okay? Which is really cool, because in this case, it actually saved this car. All right. So how does this work? It did this through ultrasonic sensors and radar, which allowed it to see and sense the environment around it, okay? The sensors fed the data into the AI, it processed the data and detected the car, then uses the information in which, you know, it already has in what it needs to do given the situations. And in this case, it decided to brake. All right, so AI provided drivers with an awareness of their surrounding that a driver alone would not otherwise have. And this is actually a really, really awesome thing, okay? All right, so my son asked this question the other day. So if AI can learn, think, and behave like humans, are they going to take over the world? And the easy answer is no. And the reason why is because sometimes we face problems with AI. So it turns out that when we ask AI to do something, it will try if it can, but it might not do what we actually want. So I'll try to give you an example. Here, the goal is two things. So first, we need to assemble a robot, and then second, it needs to walk from point A to point B, okay? So how would we do it? Okay, sorry, yeah. Okay, so this is how we humans would probably do it, okay? So first, we're going to build a robot like this. Then we're going to write some traditional code step by step, line by line. Then that will make the robot walk from point A to point B. That's how we were going to solve it, right, as humans. Now, with AI, we tell it our goals and it has to figure out itself, you know, by trial and error. So AI's tendency is to build a robot like this, and then let itself fall from point A to point B, right? So the danger is that it's not that AI will rebel against us like in the movies, but that it's going to do exactly as we ask it to do. But it's just that it's really easy to give AI the wrong problems to solve. And often we don't realize that until something has actually gone really wrong. So here's a real example. There's this group of scientists. They built an AI to identify this fish. This fish is called a tench fish, okay? So they got AI to learn about tench fish by showing it thousands of pictures of tench fishes. Then, so when we give it a picture of a tench fish for it to determine whether it's a tench fish or not, it will process the data and it will tell you whether it's indeed a tench fish or not, okay? So remember that AI needs to learn from data or information, right? So what I didn't tell you before is how we actually construct or build this data into the AI. So simply to identify a tench fish, we give it a bunch of pictures of 10 fishes, okay? And AI, instead of taking the whole fish, it will take what it thinks is important features and characteristics of a fish. So this is what the data can you see human fingers. Why was AI looking at human fingers while identifying a fish? That is so weird. So it turns out that the data that was fed to the AI looked like this, right? So can you see that? The catch fish is what people call a trophy fish. So usually people catch this fish in a competition, and this fish is usually the winning fish, right? So in a lot of the pictures that AI has during training, the fish looked like this, where a human was actually holding the fish, and he didn't know that the fingers were not part of the fish, right? And this is why there's so much trouble designing an AI. It doesn't actually understand what it's looking at. It doesn't understand that you shouldn't be looking at human fingers when trying to identify a fish. And this is why designing AI in self-driving cars, for example, are actually really, really difficult. Okay, so sure, today's AI can do tasks like identifying a person, right? Like in this picture right here. But it doesn't really have the concept of what a person is beyond that it's just a collection of colors and lines and textures, right? So it doesn't actually understand what a human is. So the entire world the entire world is the data that we give. It doesn't know anything else. All right, so I'm going to show you another video. So there's a truck here, and here's a Tesla. This is also a Tesla. And in this case, it drove right into the truck. Did you see that? Let's gonna play that one more time. So that's the car right there. And instead of stopping, it drove right into the truck. Okay. Oops, sorry. All right. So we've seen this car before, right? So because we've seen this car before, we saw that, it managed to stop just in time, just before that car came through, right? So if the Tesla sees a truck, it should have stopped, right? Because that's exactly what happened before. So a few moments back, we saw how Tesla's AI managed to stop the car just in time, right? So what's different here? Okay, so let me actually bring you through what happened. So Tesla's autopilot is meant to be used on the highway. So when training Tesla's AI, engineers will make sure they collect as much training data as they can to make sure that AI works well, which include different trucks that may be driving ahead of the car, all right? So that's the truck there. So they sees the truck and it puts in the data right here. All right, so it collected lots of different trucks, put it in their data. It even collected trucks from the rear view, right? And put that in the data right here. Okay. Right, so that's the data. So from so many testings that Tesla had collected a huge information on trucks and other vehicles and obstacles, right? That they can be found on the highway. So what went wrong? So let's look back at the footage. So it turns out, so if you can see, the truck was actually on its side, right? So it turns out that the Tesla was looking at the top of the truck. Okay, so on the top of the truck. And what Tesla wasn't taught was the top view of the truck. So it wasn't in the data that it had. So investigators suggested that the AI may have thought that it was actually a signboard. So that's why it didn't stop, because it thought that the car could just go under, right? So that's why Tesla didn't stop. Right. So another thing about AI is that it can be really destructive and not know it. So AI in Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they're actually optimized to increase views and number of clicks. And unfortunately, AI has found out that one way of doing this is to recommend bad videos. All right. So AIs don't have any concept of what the content actually is and what the consequences might be of recommending this content. Okay. All right, so when working with AI, it's really up to us to avoid problems. So how do we do this? We need to learn what AI can do and what it can't do, all right? So we need to understand that AI doesn't really understand things as we do, okay? And we need to sort of figure out how to work within those limitations. All right, so what are the top hot jobs in AI right now? So the first is probably a robotics engineer. So we looked at Jibo, right, the family robot. There's also Huggable. This is a bear or a robot used in children's hospitals. We also have manufacturing robots and also in agriculture where we do real-time insights from fields, right? Data scientists is also another job. They're professionals who apply many processes and really special techniques to large amount of data and try to find patterns and valuable insights from data. Then there's also NLP engineers, right? So we looked at NLP and how they developed Jibo. We also use that in Siri and other virtual assistants and chatbots. And in reality, you can also be a doctor or an economist or a businessman or an engineer like me. You can be working in all these different fields and yet work closely with AI because AI engineers need specialists in other areas to tell them what AI needs to do. So remember that AI is a way to give machines the power to make decisions, right? So these decisions are decisions that need to be made across a wide field of sectors like in healthcare, in farming, in manufacturing and production, in commerce industry, like retail, shopping and fashion, in the airfield industry, right? So to insist in the development of autonomous flying, for example, in security and surveillance, in sports analytics, to predict which team's going to win, or analyze physical activity from your smartwatch, right? So there's a lot of jobs that that needs AI right now. All right, that's all for now. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. So I have one question from my student, from Ahmed Tati. Okay. What is it? Are robots supposed to use 0 and 1 as language? So what do you say, Dr. Fatima, about that?
Yeah. So that's why we need NLP engineers. So they're the ones who actually convert our normal language to 1 zeros. So they have algorithms and all these complex methods to sort of do this conversion.
Okay. So
and this is what we do in our labs as well. So if you're interested, you should go to university, do engineering, and then we can do this.
Yes, maybe we should. Okay, kids.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Fatima, for
no problem.
great insight. Okay, for AI. Okay, so class, maybe if you have any doubt or any question, you can voice out to your CD teacher during our AI class. Okay, and I will let Dr. Fatima know about that. Okay. All right. So now let us proceed with our certificate presentation to Dr. Fatima. Okay, thank you, Dr. Fatima, for your time with us today. All right, I guess the kids and also the teachers also get so many information and can get a clear view of what is AI actually.
Thank you. There's so much more videos that I wanted to share with you, but we have so little time. So hopefully we can do another session like this or something like that, and then I can show you more videos.
Yes, all right, inshallah.